Okay. Hey there.
Hi, can you hear
Okay.
me?
I got you. I got
Okay.
you. Yes, I do have you.
That
How
was really crazy and funny. It didn't even show in the Facebook group that you were live until I went out of it twice and then refreshed. So I was trying to figure out how to get in to see if it would, give me that option. It never did.
well, it's crazy because it was showing like different, like there were 3 participants and there were 5, then there were 6, and there were 8. Like it was showing different participants and it would allow me to bring some of them on, but it wasn't allowing me the option to bring you on, which is crazy. I don't know.
Maybe I have something in my settings that,
Possibly.
and I'll go look, but I have no idea.
Possibly. Okay. Well,
So it'll probably take people a few minutes to get in. How
well,
many?
Shelby's already in here. Hello, Shelby. How are you? Um,
Oh, that's funny.
and
That's funny because I don't see her.
Really? That's crazy.
Now, how weird is that? Because I should see there. I see her name now.
Okay. All right. Hello, Shelby. Glad you're here. Um, we'll give the other people a few minutes to join, but yeah, that was crazy. I have no clue why that was so technically difficult. But it never fails,
And thanks, Shelby, for that suggestion. I tried and it wouldn't let me. It didn't give me those options.
It's really interesting, but we're recording this for sure. And I'll let people in as they come in. And so we'll just start talking a little bit with you, and we'll push this into the group in a little bit, and we'll make sure that we get the questions that we had answered, so that those people can at least get some information. And you are going to be coming on here regularly, so hopefully we'll get some great conversations going. For you guys to know, Katherine is amazing in my opinion. She was actually my lactation consultant that I worked with, and she is fantastic, very knowledgeable, been doing this for years, and is very well respected in the industry. So
I've been working with breastfeeding moms for almost a quarter of a century.
oh my goodness.
That kind of freaks me out to say that.
I'm going to post that link in the comments too, if it'll let me. So I'm going to do that real quick. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about you really quick, and then we'll get to some questions and just cover some basic stuff for breastfeeding mamas. I know we've got some moms who are going any day now, and so they have questions and would love to get some information from you.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, I'm Katherine. I guess let me give you a little bit of my history, which will better explain why I do the things I do. I was not very successful breastfeeding my first child. She was rehospitalized, jaundiced, dehydrated. At 4 days old, it was a mess. I received not very helpful information. I asked about pumping and I was told, don't worry about that. You can resume breastfeeding when you go home. And so she was, I said 4 days, she was 2 weeks old. She did not resume breastfeeding. That was the end of my breastfeeding journey with my daughter. And a fellow classmate at I was at King College at the time when I became pregnant with my son and my youngest, and she invited me to a La Leche League meeting. And I started attending La Leche League when I was about 5 months pregnant with my youngest, and just found my people. and I know this isn't supposed to be a La Leche League commercial or whatever, but La Leche League really was, that I found my people. And I started attending. I attended every meeting in the area for a long time, and as Lori already knows, I never left. I ultimately became a La Leche League leader as well. But when my son was about 9 months old, I applied for and got a position as a breastfeeding peer counselor with the Virginia WIC program. And that I did that for 13 years. And during all of that, at the time, La Leche League leader, she was not my co-leader at that point, but she ultimately she is my co-leader now. Sarah urged me to sit for the exam, and I argued. I always was like, nope, not going to do it. Not interested. Don't want to make this, breastfeeding supposed to be a normal, natural thing. I don't want to medicalize it. And I realized that moms weren't getting the help they needed, and that I really felt called to this profession. And so I sat for the exam, and I opened up my private practice, but I also continued to work for Virginia WIC for a while. I left for a few years and then went back, and I now do work part-time for the state as an IBCLC, but in an administrative position, creating and procuring education materials both for WIC participants as well as WIC staff. So I read tons of research, but I also continue my private practice, and I see moms very regularly. So this is absolutely where God means for me to be. I feel that with every fiber of my being. So how's that for?
Yes, that's awesome. Yes. So thanks for telling us a little bit of your history. And I love that, that you helping other women derive from such passion for you too. Like it was just, and I tell everybody. So, everybody that I talk to, I'm like, hey, well, can you find a La Leche League near you? Like that's my go-to. You have an IBCLC to work with, like, that's my go-to with everyone, to put them in contact with someone, because I really believe that moms just don't have access. I mean, with my first, which I was, 10 years ago now, but I had one friend, my life group leader was breastfeeding. That was it. That was the only person that I had to point me in any direction at that point. And so I think it's just that we don't have the support that we need. And a lot of women will just go, well, it's natural and it's just supposed to happen. So
Yeah.
No, that's not the case at all. There is a huge learning curve, and you have to research and know some stuff. So, if I can say anything to first-time moms, if you're a first-time mom, prepare. Educate yourself and prepare. It matters so much. Yes, it is 100% natural, but there is a learning curve. You want to take nipple cream or lanolin or whatever your choices are that you're going to use to the hospital with you. Like, start putting it on even beforehand. Nobody told me that.
I've got to say that I would not recommend that at all.
Really?
I would actively discourage moms from using a nipple cream, and actually work with the IBCLC at the hospital, get latch really, really down, and because what using nipple creams does, I mean, and think about a greased pig. That's the best analogy I can use. Trying to grab onto a greased pig. That's what your baby's trying to do to your nipple. That nipple is sliding all over the place. They can't get latched on. if you use too much nipple cream.
So my problem with that is that I know I went with an undiagnosed tongue tie.
Yeah.
And I was told after it was diagnosed that it wasn't bad enough and it would be fine. Now, this was before I knew enough about anything, right? And I was told that it would be fine. So here I am with, sorry guys, TMI, but like open bleeding wounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And no one has helped me with this. Whereas the next time that I went to the hospital, I took the my nipple butter and had it. I wiped it. Now I was one that wiped it off before I nursed him, but I put it on there immediately when he was done, and I avoided that whole cracked and dry and bleeding.
But that's very important that, if you say, oh, don't forget your nipple cream, there's got to be a little bit of guidance about it, because if you've never breastfed before,
that's true,
or you haven't been around breastfeeding families, you might not realize, oh, I better wipe that off or rinse it off, or not put so much on so that it absorbs and not there when you go to nurse again. So
yeah. I don't know what you can tell me what you recommend for like cracked and bleeding nipples, but so I walked around with 2 coffee cups.
Cracked and bleeding nipples, don't get to that point.
Right?
Get help first.
But women do.
Oh, I know.
That's why your information is so like important. Shelby says, I agree with the grease pig thing. I had to learn to wipe it off. Right.
Well, and I would say, and I would say that even getting to that point, getting help, I can't tell you how many women that I've worked with that can achieve a totally painless latch, even with pretty severe nipple trauma, with working on the latch and getting an effective latch. And breast tissue heals really well, and as long as it's not getting repeat trauma. And that's what the continued cracked and bleeding is about. It's continued trauma.
Right. Which, as a first-time mom, no one had told me about that.
Right.
Led to my coffee cups full of salt water suction to my breast. But anyway, so what do you recommend? First-time mom, okay, she's going in, she's going to give birth, she has her baby, she wants to breastfeed, she's all about it. And she, how does she get help in the hospital initially right after birth?
Immediately state your desire to breastfeed. Ask to see the lactation consultant. Understand that IBCLCs don't work. They're not available 24/7. Being aware of that. Keep asking the nursing staff. Those are really important. But being prepared ahead of time is absolutely imperative. And that's not just about breastfeeding. It's understanding what your birth choices have to do with your breastfeeding outcome. So to answer, I want to talk about one of the questions was, bear with me, I made myself a little.
The epidural question, is that what you were going to?
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, do epidurals really affect the baby if I want to breastfeed? Well, yeah, they really do. Let me back up and say, actually, there have been several what do you call them, meta-analyses of research regarding epidurals and breastfeeding, and the jury's really out because there are so many confounding things. So first of all, let me state that. But if a mom receives an epidural, she is statistically significantly more likely to receive artificial oxytocin, which is Pitocin. Pitocin, that's bathing your body as mom, but it's also it's crossing the blood-brain barrier for an infant as well. And that there is research to suggest that it does affect breastfeeding, and it does reduce the longevity, the length of time a baby breastfeeds. And I think that that's because they get off to a bad start. So understanding, you know, how your birth choices affect, and let me tell you, if you want to read the research, you'll be going down a rabbit hole. And frankly, I'm not willing to go completely down that rabbit hole because I like to read research, and I did a couple of searches today when that question came up and went, whoa, I can't go, I really can't, I just don't have the time to go through all of it. But in a nutshell, yes, epidurals do make a difference on breastfeeding success, both from a mom standpoint and a baby standpoint. And a lot of that is due to the use of Pitocin. Any questions there? Got any?
No, I think
down another.
That's a great answer. And I think we might, if we were live in the Facebook group right now, I think we might have a few more questions about that. But no, I think that's a great explanation. And if we need to dig in deeper on another live, we can do that. You know, I agree. It does matter, but that's the whole thing, is I think we're just not, you know, we're not educated enough on things. We don't have enough support with it. But for me, in my experience going in with my first, the lactation consultant was really quick to come in there. She was not an IBCLC though. And she just came in and she's like, oh yeah, you know, you're doing great, da da da. And didn't catch any ties, you know, anything like that. The pediatrician saw him, evaluated him in the hospital, said, oh, there might be a tie, but I need to look a little better, and he's not cooperating. He's biting down on me right now, you know. So later in the office for our checkup is when his tie was diagnosed. And by that point, I was already crying through every nursing round. And so then with my second hospital, Katherine has a great point when she says they're not 24/7 and you have to ask your nurses, ask and ask and ask. I had to ask and ask and ask and ask for the lactation consultant to come up. But of course, fun little story. They actually had a meeting about me in the hallway because of my birth plan and my choices. It was really fun. They were educating the other nurses on things. So that was really fun. But I had to ask, I'm telling you, probably 15 times to get a lactation consultant to come and see me in my room. And, you know, when she's here, can she come? When she's here, can she come? And it was constant. And in all honesty, when she came, it was like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, the baby's latched. You're good. We'll see you later. There was nothing. And even at that point, we had a different pediatrician at this point, and no ties were caught. And I'm still, you know, I know what they are, but I'm not fully educated about all of that yet. And so for 9 months, I had a very gassy baby. I did not know what was going on. And he was gaining weight. He was getting nutrition, but his stomach stayed upset all the time. And it was because he couldn't get a proper latch because of his ties. And so finally he was corrected at 9 months, and it was like night and day difference instantly. But anyway, so ladies, you have to be your advocate in the hospital, in that room, in the birthing center, or if it's a home birth, find an IBCLC to come in and work with you after that. Like, you need to be your own advocate, just being real. But
another thing that talking about being your own advocate, I do highly recommend hiring a doula if at all possible, because they can be your advocate. Sometimes better than family can, sometimes not, just depends on your family. My husband is a yes sir, whatever you say to a doctor, and I'm not like that at all. So he would not be a good advocate for me. So, you know, just so you know, that I wanted to throw that in there.
Yes, doulas are amazing. And my husband is the opposite. He is the one that's like, no, this is what she's doing and you're going to listen to her, which is awesome. But yeah, definitely make a decision if you need to hire a doula or not, and talk openly with them about what you want to do for your birth plan and your breastfeeding journey.
Include your family. Include your family in all of educating yourself about breastfeeding. Get your family educated too. I know that my mother really wanted to be supportive, and she was, because she was perfectly willing to ask, what do you want? What do you need? She didn't know the answer, but she was willing to do whatever I wanted her to do. And I think that that's not always the case, especially if you know, your mom or your sister or whatever didn't breastfeed. So, you know, educating your family along with you.
So here, let's get to nipple shields and flanges. I know Mariah was asking about flange size, and let's see, another question here. I was given a nipple shield in the hospital instead of trying to latch, and then I had to use the shield for the first 4 months.
So Shelby, are you asking, is it normal to have to use a shield for 4 months until, does it take that long to establish a latch? Or are you asking, is it normal for hospital staff to provide a nipple shield instead of helping you with latch? Okay. So both. So in the work that I do with the state of Virginia, I've worked closely with all of the birthing facilities in Virginia on a collaborative, and I learned that that a lot of hospitals that occurs. I think the lactation staff is typically not, IBCLC is not typically the person handing out nipple shields like they're candy. It's typically nursing staff that don't have the skills to help. And you know, keep in mind, it takes time to gain those skills. Like I said, I've been working with breastfeeding moms for 25 years. I promise you, I do not know everything about lactation. I know a lot, but I don't know everything. But what I have noticed is typically when someone is provided a nipple shield within the first 48 hours after delivery, it's because the person providing it to them does not have the skills required to help them. So that's one thing. The 4 months to establish a latch, Shelby, I recently worked with a mom that used a nipple shield for a year, and her baby finally started latching. She was very, very discouraged. A lot of the time, it takes a lot of support, and kudos to you for making it through those 4 months. That's intense, but you know, I want to make sure that everybody listening to this recording hears, you know, nipple shields are not the devil. They They are a tool, just like a pacifier, just like a bottle. They're a means to an end. And if it takes 4 months, it's a headache. And there are some tips that I would, suggest, depending on the circumstances. But, it got you there. So, that's a really good thing.
Definitely helpful. I tried like once a day to get him to latch, and then one day he just did it.
And that's wonderful, because that tells me that you really respected your baby's abilities and temperament and personality through all of that. Um, you know, we can try to force infants to do things if they're not ready. They don't have the skills yet. Babies are not manipulative. They are not what's the word I want to use? I always go blank on this. They're not out to get us. If they can, and if they don't do something, won't do something, it's because they can't do it. I mean, not feeding is not, it's not going to happen because that's not a way to survive. And if the one instinct that we definitely have, no matter what, is survival. And a baby's going to feed if they can feed. And if they can't, the way they were intended to, which is at the breast, they need help. And you got that help.
Yeah. Yeah. And Shelby, I love.
Yay, 13 months and counting. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's awesome. She's doing fantastic.
So there's another question that I wanted to.
Yeah, I'm digging into them here.
So I want to address the, should I take my pump to the hospital? I don't think so. And the reason that I would discourage someone from taking their pump to the hospital is because the odds are it's a personal user pump and they're wonderful when you need them. But if your baby has difficulty in the first 24 to 48 hours of life, you really need a more powerful pump. You need that pump that they can provide you at the hospital. I mean, even the smallest ones available now, it's still something else to have to haul home. So you got to haul it there and haul it back, and you may never even open it there. Now, that being said, you may want to contact the lactation services department at the hospital facility where you're birthing, and ask if they can show you how to put it together and use it. If that is a concern, some will be able to do that, some will not. Lori and I had talked about this, doing something about the alphabet soup of lactation, and we will in the future. But I just want to differentiate between IBCLCs working in different arenas. You have hospital-based IBCLCs, you have private practice IBCLCs, you have pediatric office IBCLCs. Then you have some that work in an administrative position that haven't been continuing working with moms. So you've got, very varying levels of experience. You have IBCLCs that never birthed a baby, never breastfed a baby. You have male IBCLCs. Then you have IBCLCs like myself, who came up through La Leche League and got to see the normal term of breastfeeding from birth to weaning. And in my case, with my youngest, that was 6 years. So, I breastfed 1 2 weeks and 1 6 years. So I got the experience there. but you know, that's really important to understand. Not all IBCLCs have the same background, and asking questions about it, because the hospital IBCLCs focus on birth to 2 days. That's their focus. They occasionally get called to the emergency department. They occasionally get called to pediatrics when there's an admission for a, you know, a toddler, or, you know, usually the hospital will put an infant, you know, under 4 months old in the nurse, you know, in that section. But yeah, so that, you know, reaching out, asking lots of questions. If, you know, if you need somebody to help you figure out your pump, you know, La Leche is a great place for those kind of things. But we'll talk more about the alphabet soup of it later. We have another question.
Mariah wanted to know about the accurate size of flanges, and can a wrong size lead to a lack of good production?
Can the wrong size affect production?
Yeah. So yes. The accurate size of a flange, and can the wrong size lead to a lack of production?
Yes, it absolutely can. A flange that's too large will pull a lot of areola tissue into the tube of it, that part of it, and sometimes that will, the way the breast tissue goes into it, it will block ducts and reduce the volume of milk that you pump. Too small of flanges can cause nipple trauma, and it may be, you know, it may be just a little bit tight, and even though you don't see visible trauma, it's just an irritation that reduces your oxytocin response, which means you don't let down as much and you don't remove as much milk. So absolutely.
All right. And then you can pick which one you want to get to next. We've got time for probably one more, and then we're going to have to.
Okay.
So we don't go too long. We'll jump. And then, like I said, Katherine will be here more. So
I'm betting that I'm leaking to the point of soaking breast pads is a mom that's getting really close to delivery. So I'll address that one. Okay. I am of the opinion that using a pump to remove colostrum prenatally is not okay. But that being said, I'm a huge fan of prenatal hand expression for several reasons. You can hand express into a spoon. I don't think I have a spoon, but you know, literally, not my boob. You get just like this. Let's put it up here. Just spoon right here and hand express into it. You can use like 1 ml syringes, like insulin syringes. You can purchase at the pharmacy. You can purchase them without a needle, so you don't need the needle at all, but just suck up colostrum into those and freeze it. Stick them in little sandwich Ziploc baggies, label them with your name and date of birth and the date that you expressed it. Freeze it, and there you have what your baby needs if for some reason they're having difficulty latching, they have low blood sugar, whatever. And let me qualify all of that with, it's okay if you don't leak at all. I want moms to know that. I've worked with plenty of moms that leaked tons like this, soaking breast pads, but I've worked with plenty of moms that went on to very successfully breastfeed that didn't leak, you know, maybe a drop or two during their whole pregnancy. That's really normal. But to finish that, yes, it possibly can bring on labor. The odds are slim though, because the oxytocin, unless you've been put on bed rest and told to abstain from sex, the likelihood of it causing premature labor is pretty slim.
So let me ask you about the collection cups, the hakas and things like that, to catch colostrum before and for sleeping in them and things like that, wearing them around after.
Two different products. You collection cups like Milkies.
Well, yeah, like
and then hakas.
Yeah.
So let's talk about prenatal first. Prenatal, I wouldn't recommend either one of them. Milk collected, colostrum collected in those, it's going to be small enough quantity that you're going to be tempted to wear them for a long time and then suction it all out. You don't want to do that. There's no research about it. I mean, the odds are it would be fine because colostrum is a living substance as much as mature milk is, and doesn't tend to grow weird bacteria. So, it actually kills bacteria. So, I wouldn't recommend them. Hakas, I have kind of a love-hate relationship with hakas. I don't think that every mom needs one. I think that if you're gonna spend, if you're not planning on regular, more than 4 hours at a time separation from your baby, you don't need a pump either. But if you just gotta do it, I'd rather you spend $10 on a haka and be able to stuff it in your purse in case you need it. So since that product has come on the market, I've worked with significantly more women who have overproduction issues, and the majority of them is lack of understanding of how their body works and overuse of that product.
All right. Thank you. I ran into that question, so I wanted to throw it in really quick.
That sounds good.
All right, awesome. So we will end this and hop off here, and I will post this recording into Facebook so that everyone can watch it. Thank you so much, Katherine. This has been fantastic. First, I wish we could have been live. We'll figure it out for next time though and troubleshoot that and go from there. But ladies, if you have questions, send them in, and we will let you know a regular schedule with Katherine as she's going to be on. And she is so knowledgeable, and like she said, she's been working with women for a few years, just a few.
In a lot of different capacities. I don't think there are very many IBCLCs that have the gamut of experience that I do.
Yeah. So thank you very much. And I'm sorry that some of y'all didn't get to join us live, but next time we'll catch you live next time. So again, this is Faith-Based Birthing, and this is Katherine Wilson Thompson, IBCLC. She's amazing. We will have other IBCLCs joining us as well. And Katherine will be on here regularly as well. So we're excited about that. And send your questions. What you got?
I was going to say, Lori, anybody that has questions about anything in this video, just post them below it in the group, and I'll check it out tomorrow and next week and answer as I can. Awesome. Fantastic. Well, you ladies have a fantastic night, and whenever you're watching this, day, whatever, I don't know, but we will talk to you soon, and you guys have a great one. Bye, y'all. Thank you. Thanks so much, Katherine. I really enjoyed it. I can't get out.